I'm Logan,
I'm Ian.
and welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast. First things first, Ian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Logan. Tired, but you know what? I'm really excited to get into this subject today. I actually have no clue what you want us to talk about today. You kind of kept that somewhat of a secret for a little bit. So why don't you dive into it?
Well, we're still college students, so I had a little bit of homework to get done last night, and as I'm going through it, I'm just trying to think, how can I be more efficient? How can I get this done right, and not only get it done, but get it done to my professor's specifications, and also do a little bit more just for the sake of it. And that's when I thought, you know what? For this episode, we should talk about work ethic because that's a big thing in both of our lives. So first things first, yeah. So now that we're
Yep.
bringing this up, so the definition of work ethic is the principle that hard work is intrinsically virtuous or worthy of reward. Now, what say you, Ian? You agree with that statement?
I think that statement has some merit. I will admit to it. I'm more curious, though. How do you define it? Because we all know you have your own definitions for practically anything and everything.
I do. You're right. For me, work ethic's always been about staying one step ahead and getting as far ahead as I can with the work so that I have time to do other things other than studying as well. Researching my career path and just figuring out my future. But it's also just the question of how much do I want it, and when I say that, I mean how much do I want success. There's the saying that what are you willing to sacrifice, and to some people it might sound extreme, but to me it's just about how far am I willing to work, or how hard am I willing to work to get where I want to go. And my dad instilled these values in myself and in my brother at a young age about putting the work in and trying to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And he said, you know, try to stand out. You guys can hang with anybody. That's what he always raised us. That's what he said to us at a young age. He said, you guys can hang with anybody. Don't let anybody tell you different. Don't let anybody tell you can't do this, you can't do that. You put your mind to it, you'll find a way to do it. And that's been the case so far. My brother and I, it was never a competition between us, but I always looked up to my brother and I always wanted to be right on his level because he was a really, and was, I say was, he is one of the hardest workers I know. And
So,
I've always wanted to stay on that level with him. And now I have the opportunity to do that because we're at two separate colleges. So we're each at the top of our game at our specific institutions.
still
So I'm
grinding to this
blessed.
day.
100%, man. The grind doesn't stop. And I'm not saying you can't have fun, but that grind doesn't stop. There's always more to do. That's why we always talk about being lifelong learners, because there's always more to do. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But that just means there's more opportunities to stay ahead and just keep learning, keep living, keep loving.
Yeah, absolutely. In that statement, there's not a single thing that I wouldn't disagree with, and I think it's valuable to remind people that work ethic is not a set in stone thing. It's kind of what you make it. You make work ethic your own thing. So, I know Logan over here puts a lot of effort into his work. Much more than I think I actually do, and I much admire that. I'm actually trying to add more effort to my work to get not on his level, but maybe advance my game a little bit. But I think there's a lot of discovering that happens with work ethic, and you have to go through, I think, maybe being somewhat irresponsible before you can start finding that voice about, okay, this is what work ethic looks like. And I know you defined it as Webster's dictionary has for God knows how long now, and then you gave your own
Yeah.
definition. Which one of those definitions do you live by?
I mean, everyone's got their own definition. So I think as you live and you learn, you kind of build up your own definition. You can look at the Oxford and the Webster's definition. It's not wrong at all. But I think by living, you create your own definition. So for me, it's just putting 100% effort into my work, staying ahead, and just really trying to push it a bit too. Just trying to see what I'm really capable of, trying to see what I can do here. Because then I have to think, 10 years ahead at my career. I have to think, what kind of person do I want to be in 10 years? I still want to be that hard worker that wakes up early, gets up, gets his day started before everybody else, has fun because the work becomes fun after a while, but isn't afraid to put work in and isn't afraid to try new things. Even if people say there's no such thing as failure, it's a learning experience. I don't disagree with that. And you have to go through those trials and tribulations to really find out what you're made of. That for me is what work ethic is, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, I think that's such a wonderful definition. I mean, I think for me throughout my life, I haven't put so much of my effort and time into figuring out work ethic. So I'll call it an odd subject for me to talk about because I don't do this often in my life. But I mean, like, what else do you do with work ethic? Like, let's get specifically into your day. How do you integrate work ethic into your daily life?
Honestly, well, first things first, though, I do need to say, I don't think you give yourself enough credit because I'm going to say blessed. I am going to say blessed. You've been blessed with the gift that you were kind of like my brother in middle school in a sense that I
Eh,
don't want to say work came easy to you, but you could make the work look easy, and you wouldn't have to put 110% in like other people would. You had that intrinsic ability to get the stuff done, and everything work out fine, and even more than fine, if anything. And that's a blessing. I don't ever want you to take that for granted because that's a big thing. Again, we're two different people. We can learn from each other, but that's something I always admired: the fact that you could put in the work that you wanted to put in, and it still worked out fine.
yes.
So you still have that work, but to me, I think you more think about your future than the present, which isn't much. Is it? It's not really a bad thing, but
No,
you've been thinking about your career path while we were still in high school, like
I've been
not just college, but even further than that. You were thinking about where do I want to be even past college? What do I want to be doing?
I've been
Like, you were
thinking
thinking ahead, man. You
that's
really were.
that's been my whole life, and I think we should touch upon that in the basis of work ethic as well. And I think remember for all my people who are still young, still have a lot of time left to figure out things in their lives and anything else. Um, we can't be blinded by the future in the pursuit of our lives. Sometimes we have to be able to look out at what's in front of us. And when that comes to work ethic, if you're constantly working towards a singular goal that is 20, 30, maybe 40 years out, it's not a bad thing. It is not. But be cautious about how much you put effort into making that your life because it distracts you from some of the most beautiful things of the present. And I haven't been able to enjoy a lot of those things because of my nature. One of those many things is I haven't been able to enjoy friendships, I think, as much as I really should have until I met this guy over here. He definitely changed a lot of that.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
He changed a lot of perspective for me, and I think my friendships were far and few between at that point. But they weren't as genuine feeling as this one has been, and I think that just reminds me every day I cannot be blinded by my future. I should always give thought into it, and we should all give thought into our futures because intrinsically that is one of the main parts of being human is what comes next is constantly on our minds. But we also need to take a step back and say, what's in front of me right now? So I definitely have a weakness in that, and that definitely happens with my work ethic, I think, a lot. And I get caught up in the moments of this is boring, right? Like the mundane assignments, this is not contributing to my immediate future. And I think I'm always chasing the final result and not the small pictures that lie in front of me. I'm always chasing the big picture. And I think you have to be willing to chase some of those small pictures and open to chasing some of those small pictures. Otherwise, I think you get lost in the big picture.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I do because there's got to be that split again, like we talked about last time with organization, where you got to be looking to your future, but appreciating the moment and appreciating the present, because that's where we are right now. The here and now is the biggest gift, and that's why they call it the present.
We
So you gotta look where you are right now, and remember the little things.
Yeah, for all my high school people and all my college people right now that tune in, remember, like, we're probably one of the luckiest times of our lives. We are all on the same clock in life. Um, and that is genuinely true. Anybody who
It
tells
is.
you, anybody who tells you that they're not on the same clock as you, anybody who's like, I'm gonna be a millionaire next year, anyone who tells you I'm gunning it for this, you're on the same clock. You're all gonna graduate at the same time. You're all taking classes, right? You're gonna share a lot of your friendships for just a little bit longer, and especially in college, that's gonna happen too. It's because you are all right now heading for what is essentially the same goal, which is the finish line.
Success, I'd say. I'd say success and happiness. Them two things are the end goal.
But I think success and happiness are the long term end goal. I think that is the long term end goal because we have to acknowledge that success and happiness does require a bit of suffering in between, and
A
that
bit. Oh, some people suffer a little bit more than others, most
yes,
definitely. I
yes,
mean,
they
Conor
yes,
McGregor said it. Conor McGregor in an interview, he was saying about. I'm sorry if I offend anybody here, but I got to do it. But he said they had the football game on last night. I don't watch football. I watch film. I watch film. I don't think of nothing else. No, I think of the moves. I think of the positions. I think of my body. I think of where the opponent's punching. I don't think of nothing else. Sometimes you got to be a little bit too far gone to be successful. I don't think of nothing else. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. If you're Tom Cruise once said, it's not really being obsessed, but it's more being intrigued and interested in what you're doing that really takes you far. But I think, you got to pour a lot of time into what you love for the rest of your
I
life. And
think
not many people are going to do it like you. You're going to be going down your own path, sometimes converting from other people. But that's really where you'll find what you're made of, and you'll see in the long run how far ahead you really are. And that's nothing to be ashamed of.
yes. I know that this channel is and this podcast itself is not meant to be very futurist and focusing on what's next, but I think this is a very wise piece of advice to kind of hand out, and I've kind of seen it amongst my coworkers because I've done work in college, and I'm sure many college students can kind of see this too. And if they haven't, if they watch this and they hear it, or even high schoolers, you might start to realize this. Once you get to that point in your life, everyone's on a different path, and everyone's on a different timeline because suddenly the world just kind of opens up and instead of all having the same intrinsic goal, everyone is moving upon a timeline. Some of your friends are going to get jobs that take up more of their time faster than you, and before they know it, right, there's not going to be much hanging out. I know you and I still, try to make enough time for each other, but even then, you and I have very limited time to hang out with each other, and when we do talk, it is a blessing to talk because we have such very busy lives. And I
We
think,
do that. We do.
and I think that kind of draws back to work ethic. Is remind yourself of that balance in work ethic. It's okay to work at something, whether that's your schoolwork. Logan will tell you about that nonstop, and he can tell you about that nonstop. He understands it like no other man on earth, in my opinion.
Well,
Um,
hey, I got to say this though. I didn't invent this, right? Like I didn't
oh
make
no no
this.
no no
I
no
got it from somebody else who got it from
no yeah
somebody
no
else.
no you definitely
It's I'm not
well
reinventing the wheel
I
here.
should
I'm just reinflating the ball and running with it.
I should specify he's the only man on earth that I personally know that has that going for him in that manner. But being mindful more so of myself in work ethic, and I look at it, my work ethic kind of comes from showing up for people in other activities and things that maybe fall outside of my schoolwork. And I can admit I get lost in those sometimes, and I fail to take a step back and just enjoy some of my life. Um, and I think they're with work ethic, and Logan I know mentioned earlier, like I don't have to give as much effort in life to get my work done. There is a little bit of luck in work ethic. Um, and I love this Batman quote. Harvey Dent, oh my god. I'm sorry, I'm just reminiscing about the movie, but Harvey Dent says, you make your own luck. You really do make your own luck. And I think if there's any other man who on earth who understands how to make his own luck, it is Mr. Stone right there, who constantly does it every day in and day out. He makes his own luck by working hard, by showing up early. His actions create his luck. And I think that's something to mention here, is that your actions create your luck, they create your work ethic, and they create your path. And in work ethic, I don't think we just have to be mindful of the work that we're given, but the steps that we take in working towards our goals as well, and how that builds our luck. Because 10 years down the line, people are going to wonder, you know, uh, people often wonder how the billionaires are billionaires, and there's a whole slew of things, but they also do kind of make their own luck through their actions. And some people say that, some successful people are lucky. You make your own luck. Even if a little bit of it is accidentally, I got lucky and just this random thing happened. There was a step along the way that helped make that luck.
I don't disagree with a word you said. I completely agree with you. And, again, we are kind of two peas in a pod, two sides of the same coin. You call it luck. I don't disagree, but, I might even go a step further and say that might be God's will. Honestly, that might be for a whole other episode there. But to me, that I figured out in my life, a lot of things I don't think were coincidental. I think things happen for a reason. So people say it's luck. I'm not going to sit here and disagree, but I'm going to take that as I think that's God talking. That's my thing. He got a plan for you, and that just so happened to be something that he put his 2 cents in, and there you go after the races. But I do want to apologize quick, Ian, because I never fully answered your question earlier. Because
Oh
you
no,
said, how do you do the work ethic in your day to day and whatnot? And then I started going to a long diatribe, and I didn't
no,
answer
no,
your
no, no,
question.
no, no. You're good. You're good. You're good. Let's get that, because um, I kind of know how you go into it personally, but I think it'd be interesting for viewers to kind of see how you tackle it, because your work ethic and my work ethic work in two very different and mysterious ways.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely, we go about our day a little bit differently, similar but different. But for me, I mean, I'm going to preface it by saying though it does depend. Again, we are college students, so it does
Yes.
depend what college you go to because they'll be using different platforms for all your homework and whatnot. So some might be more organized than others. So you can see, like, they'll have the assignment list. You can see what's coming up and you can see other things and try to
Takes
get
us
ahead and whatnot. So it
takes
does
us right
depend
back to
on what college
organization.
you're at. But I would say, my college, amongst others, but my college especially uses Canvas as their platform to house all the homework and assignments and things like that.
Same
And
as mine.
so I can take a look at. Oh, they do. I
Yep.
thought you said it was something different. Was that
No,
me?
originally it was something different, but we converted over last year. I think a lot of college campuses now have converted over to Canvas.
Okay.
I think that's another
Okay.
I think that actually might be another cool topic for us to touch upon, though, is
I didn't. I
adaptability.
didn't know that. I don't think you would. I don't remember ever. I don't think you ever told me that. Like I know we
Yeah,
would use something different when we were freshmen, but I didn't know they switched over. That's cool, actually. So now we can actually talk about this, and we both know what we're talking about. All right,
yeah,
good, good, good. That's good. But back to the point, anyways. But for me, I get to see, when my assignments are due and whatnot. If there's an assignment that's due in like 2 weeks, if I have the time, which again, that's why I choose, when we pick our classes and whatnot, I pick my schedule so that I have the time in between to get things done and I can do more than most. So
That's
for
the one.
me,
That's the one part where you and
what were you
I.
gonna say?
Oh, I said that. I was gonna say that's the one part where you and I are kind of similar. I hate classes after morning. The one part where you
Well,
and
isn't
I.
that everybody then? Doesn't everybody have a class after morning?
No, actually,
Well,
no.
okay, I say that, and then I had a class from 8 to 9:15 this morning. And that was it. So okay, you know what? I back out on
I
this one.
know,
Yeah,
I
you
know.
might be right.
No, no, I know people. I know people who hate classes that happen like after morning. Like, I think you and I. I think you and I and a lot of college students. There is definitely a large group that can agree upon this. We like to have our day done before the afternoon, so we can use that as a productive time,
You're not wrong. No,
right?
I'd agree with
Right.
that. Yeah.
So I know you say that you. So I know we mention obviously all the time that him and I are different, but one of the things that we can agree upon, no matter what, is we hate having afternoon classes, and hate not in the word that like I would never do them, but it kind of just throws off our whole the way we pursue our days.
I don't know about that. I think it depends on who you ask too, because I
Oh
got no
yeah,
complaints about my classes, and I got one that goes from 2 to 3, but I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
complain. I got a good professor, so maybe that's why. But
What do you?
I think it is what you make it.
Yeah. What do you prefer though? Like, do you prefer those morning classes?
I like to have a good mix though, because with my schedule, I have a morning class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I have one in the afternoon, and then Tuesday and Thursday I have the class that I just said about having from 8 to 9:15, and the rest of the day's mine. But I
Yeah.
like having that mix though. It does keep me grounded, and it does allow me to do a lot more things. But the one thing we didn't say though, the night classes.
Oh my
I
god.
didn't know how late those things went. When I talked to some of my friends, they're like, yeah, I got a class from like 6 to 9. I'm like, huh, come again? So like, when do
I
you sleep?
after the class.
I, I, now, again,
I I
immediately I want to say
you
I couldn't
you
do that. I
you
can if I need to, but that's not preferred.
I think you and I think I so I know obviously you never have you ever had a night class?
No, 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 no.
Okay, so
I'm not going to pull on it, but
I
no, not
have
yet.
I have had a night class. It's gone till 8. It's
Dang it.
5:30 to 8, and kind of with that what you have to like it's not the worst thing in the world, but this is how my schedule kind of changes if I have a night class for the folks at home. I will come back to my dorm. I will put my stuff down, go get something to eat if I don't have something that I made, and then I'll call this guy over here, and then I'll go to bed because 3 hour classes are draining and boring. Little bit of a tidbit, and oh my god, I love watching ESPN during those classes because some of those classes can just be long and dragging and boring.
Wait,
So
wait a minute. Are
so
you telling me you watching ESPN during a college class?
it was a micro and macroeconomics class, and the professor, wonderful person.
Oh boy.
Wonderful person at the end of the day. I do enjoy her class thoroughly, but of course, once again, where you have to give 110%, I have to give like 75 to make it all work out. So for me, sitting in that class, there were moments where I was just kind of like out of it and just kind of like she's kind of going on about stuff that I kind of already had a grasp on. I was kind of like, okay. So I think it's okay sometimes in your life if you are bored in a class and you do feel like you're caught up and the work ethic there kind of works a little bit differently, I think, because this guy will disagree with me wholeheartedly. I know that for a fact, but I think you gotta change your work ethic approach if that's how a class feels for you, and if it's working out where you are getting the results that you desire. I think it's okay to say like, look, this is a part of the classroom kind of feeling bored. It's been too long, and I kind of already have a grasp of what I know I'm doing. I think it's okay to open up the laptop and watch ESPN if you can, how do I say, not anger the professor. Which it did not anger her. She thought we were actually following the textbook most of the time. In my defense, I was following along in the textbook, though. I was. I will admit to that.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying. I mean, we're
ESPN,
talking about work ethic throughout this
ESPN,
whole thing. Then you
ESPN.
just make up like, hey, did you know I was watching ESPN during an econ class?
Econ. Well, and I think this is kind of go on about.
Oh
I think
boy.
this is kind of to just remember, like this podcast is meant to be a contrast of our two personalities. You're the lion, I'm the wolf.
It definitely is now.
So we
Wow.
I think I have to kind of bring up some of these situations, and once again, like you talk about it all the time. You talk about results. So with that in mind, I think it's okay if you are achieving the results that you desire. If you sit down in a class and say, I want to get an A, and you have something in the A range, right? Because like an A is not always possible. Things happen in life. I would know. I dealt with that all last year, but things happen in life. But if you feel good and you feel like you can conquer it, and you're kind of like sitting in one of those classes, and this is more class advice, but you know what? We might as well do it since we're on the topic of work ethic. I think it's okay to take a break. Maybe work on something else. Maybe something to distract your mind for a couple of minutes so then that way you can go back and refocus. This man over here could do work ethic for 10 hours straight and not get bored for some odd reason. I don't know how the heck he does it. I can't go 15 minutes without being like, let me turn on YouTube.
No, I well, I will say you are right because there'd never be a reason to go 10 hours straight because you just can't do it.
No, no, no.
You got to look at you have to look at the material
It
for a
is.
certain time and you have to take a break.
It is.
So
It
then
is.
you can hop back on it fresh and
No,
then keep going.
it is. It is a figurative there. He. What I'm saying is, you could definitely go longer than can. But I think with work ethic, don't burn yourself out. If you're in a good spot and there's not too much to do, it's okay to sit back, even if you're in a class and the professor is not too attentive to everyone watching ESPN on their computers. I It happens, trust me, right? But
No, no, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen
yeah,
people watching movies in the middle of the class. I'm
yeah,
like, all
I
right,
think I,
okay, cool.
I think it can be okay. It can be an okay thing. I think actually it's a good thing, and they're doing this actually now. And I know they're doing it in like lower schools in primary education, right, where they'll take those types of breaks because I think not that it's too long of a period, and not that it's like, but sometimes it can get boring and you do need to re-divert. And I think that's something intrinsically as humans that we often find ourselves getting caught in is the same old routine every day, and we eventually get burned out and want to find something new. So if you do start to feel burned out, if you are finding yourself in the middle of your class sitting there crossing your arms and wondering when is this going to end, maybe you just need to take yourself a little break and do something maybe that you love. I was designing hockey jerseys in an econ class at one point. I did it for 3 of my sessions, and
Me personally, I can't disagree with that for the sole purpose of that is practicing marketing skills right there, and that is a
right,
practical
right.
application.
I think
Therefore, I am not going to complain.
right, right. So to credit it, there are ways to still practice and have work ethic and be doing something productive. But in the case where you aren't doing something productive, don't slap yourself for it and don't beat yourself up and be like, I did this wrong or this and that. I think it's okay. I think you just have to remember there has to come a point where you say, I'm back in it, right? I was gone for 15 minutes, but I'm back in it again. And you just have to keep on pressing with it, and then eventually you're going to be like, all right, I'm kind of out of it again, and then I'm going to go right back into it. And I know And I know all the studies about work ethic say you should tackle your work and push through. And yeah, you should, but as humans, I think it's okay, especially considering that our brains have the constant urge to want to go find new things, even after we're 80 and can barely go anywhere anymore. Some of us still can, and a lot of us actually still can. All right, we'll push to 100. When you're 100, you can't go too many places anymore, right? There's still that curiosity. So if it calls, embrace it. Don't over embrace it. But you should never allow yourself to be burned out at anything.
Yeah, I agree, but I will say it's funny that you mentioned that too, though, because I remember, middle school and somewhat in high school, but you know how we get our assignments done early? Our
Our
professors. Oh my
professors.
gosh,
I know.
it's
Now that
hot
we're
up
in
his nail
college,
already.
now that we're in college, we have to refer them as professors. Our teachers back then, back in the
Our
day,
teachers, yes,
back in the
correct,
day, we
yes,
called them
correct.
teachers.
Our teachers would encourage us to work ahead on other work for other classes. So that type of mentality is still there even after all that time. So you're not wrong because honestly, that is a good thing to teach the students. I'm not going to lie. You get your work done for one class. If you have work for another, I mean, why wouldn't you want to get that done? That
I,
is a good point. That is a good point.
I think there's also a shift in education though, with work, and I think we're starting to tackle education and learning in a very different way than we were when you and I started school. Kind of went through elementary school and stuff. There, it's more about learning and less about grading based off. There still is the grading scale, but I think there's a little bit more attention by teachers to letting students learn concepts and a little bit. And as I've gotten to college, I think I've started to realize this too, that that's kind of there. There's a genuine sense that we want you to just learn what's going on and make sure that it sticks. I think what we're starting to realize is school is not as helpful as we'd like it to be, because most of us are going there, walking out, and then we're like, what did I learn in physics all those years ago? Couldn't tell you. I had a great physics teacher though, so I remember a lot of what he did teach me. Actually, how many? We had
I
four. We had
we had the
four.
same
We
teacher.
had four of them. Him and I may or may not disagree on which one was the best. I don't think we've ever talked about which one we thought was the best.
I think we both know which one. We had the same one, and you learned, and I didn't because I didn't take the honors stuff when I should have.
Well,
Get
I
stuck in a class where a dude literally put thumbtacks on a teacher's chair, waiting for him to sit down. Yeah.
I think
Ah.
I think it's another thing though that we can point out in work ethic. Work ethic is a lot of learning, and I know that the way we define it obviously is a lot of times through our professional work and our school work, but sometimes work ethic can actually be found in fun, and it's and not so much as doing work, but a reminder that fun is a part of the work ethic system. It's the part where you sit back and say, I'm not going to do any work and I'm just going to have a little bit of fun. We don't leave enough room for that in our lives much anymore, other than the family vacations that we take as we get older, or the occasional, going out and doing something. We don't live our lives like that. And I think we should do it a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta just like you make your success, you gotta make your fun then too. And fun could be anything. Fun could be talking to your sweet mates, your neighbors in your dorm, or what have you. Going to the meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then having a conversation and just
Making dinners in
talking
your
about
dorm.
anything.
Making dinners in your dorm
That
is
too.
that's a fun one.
Uh, Playing some pickleball outside in the tennis courts. I am unfortunate. I have that luxury because my grandmother got a pickleball set. No, not with the net, but just the rackets and well, I say the
You
rackets, the
have to.
paddles and the ball.
Um, you
She
should.
got it for She got it for both of us, my brother and I, but I ended up taking it because my brother had two bins full of card games.
You should
Yeah,
have
I don't
told.
think you need more than that.
You should have told me. I would have played with you. I actually know how to play pickleball.
Well, Lo Siento. Um,
No, 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 no. You're good. You're
well,
good. You're
there you
good. You're
go.
good. You know. Actually, my sisters got me to that one. So, but
I love pickleball.
yeah, I think there's another part to work ethic. Then, speaking of pickleball, learning new skills, right? Pickleball was definitely like
That too.
that was a new
That too.
skill to
I
learn.
do love
I
pickleball.
think I think a big part of work ethic is to remember that, and I think talking through this, we can kind of come up with a general formula for how work ethics should be tackled, right? Your current work plus your fun and life, pretty much, plus keeping yourself stimulated through learning new things. And if you have all three of those components, you have probably the ideal work ethic for a human. In whatever form that looks like, you're going to weigh that out. You may have a life where, that component of fun may be a small stretch because that component of current work is a big stretch. And that component of learning for some may be also a bigger stretch. For college and high school kids on that spectrum, current work is going to be kind of a small one, while constant learning and fun are going to be the two big ones. So you're going to constantly have to balance that equation out throughout your life. But if you have all three in your life in some capacity, and you remember to make sure that you have all three of them, you have a good work ethic.
I agree. If you have those three components, you're pretty much. I won't say you're set because you're always going to be adapting. You're going to be changing how you move a little bit. Yeah, but if you
Absolutely.
have those three components, you're good, man. You're good. Honestly,
I
you
think
get to
it's
have your fun. You get your work done, and you're learning new things as well. That, as my dad would say, they're arrows in your quiver, so to speak.
yes.
You're doing good, man. You're doing good. You
It's
got
just,
your fun, you got your work, and you got skills to pay the bills.
I think
I
it's
mean,
the
that's a pretty
simplest way.
well-rounded person, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's the simplest way to break it down. It is the simplest way to break down for people and for ourselves how we should approach life in the work ethics, I guess, the part of life where work ethic comes in. And I talk about it a lot more than I think a lot of people do, but always having fun. You should always in life have some sort of fun. Um, and I'm guilty of having myself plenty of fun and not enough of the whole work ethic thing. See, my work ethic looks something like this, and I'll admit to it. I constantly learn new things. I'm constantly having fun. When it comes to doing my current work, it's not that I don't do it, but I'm not putting 110% into it. So that side is a little bit smaller than the other two. I think it's just because how I'm wired. I am wired to learn new things and to have fun.
I still say it's a good thing, though.
Oh yeah, no, I
And
agree.
it's good to know how you're wired too. I am glad that you know how you're wired.
Be
I
that
think that's an important thing.
that comes with a lot of time reflecting about who I am. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to offer on work ethic because it is not my strongest suit. But what I can offer to people is a reminder that work ethic is more than just doing work, working. I think we can also approach it in a philosophical manner where we argue that once again there are three components to work ethic, which is the learning of new concepts, things, and skills, the current work that we must approach and do, and having fun.
I'd agree, man. I'd agree.
So uh, that's my tirade on all that. Logan, do you have anything else you want to lead us into?
I mean, I just think if you can kind of cultivate a little bit of work ethic early on in your younger years, even in elementary school. Now that might be a stretch. Don't get me wrong. It might sound like a stretch, but
Yeah.
if you are
We're not
raised
talking kindergarten. We're not talking kindergarten, folks. We're talking
no, no, no,
we're
no,
talking we're talking
not kindergarten.
yeah, we're talking like second, third grade start cultivating that.
Yes, yes. Just putting I can't believe I'm actually about to quote Deadpool on this one. But putting
Deadpool
maximum
swallowed.
effort into your work. I know. But putting maximum effort into your work early on, that does start to carry over and it starts to carry more weight as you get older. Because then you hit middle school, you get more complex classes, and if you have that work ethic, it's going to start to mean something even more. Then you get into high school where that again that stage that's going to mean even more
In
because then for some people think about the resumes and whatnot
Yeah,
too,
yep.
and whatnot, but
Oh,
that's
the
going to
darn
start meaning more.
resumes.
Then when you get either to the workforce or college, that's really going to mean more. Now, if you're in college, it's still 4 more years to cultivate more work ethic, and then you hit the real world. If you hop into the workforce right off the bat, then that really is going to mean something because now you actually get to put all that into action in a real world setting with real applicable skills.
Well, remember, work ethic is not. It is a skill in life.
Yeah.
If you have any sort of work ethic toolbox in your life, you have a skill and you have a very valuable skill because especially if you can balance work ethic in the formula that we've mentioned, you're going to have a pretty fun life. You're going to be constantly learning new things, and I love learning new things. I took a trip to Europe, learned lots of new stuff, so I do recommend traveling as a great way of learning for people, but I also don't neglect my current work, and then I also don't neglect my fun, and that comes from my friends, that comes from doing things that I enjoy. I stream on the side for the fun of it, because I think that's really cool, but find all of that in life, no matter how young or old you are, right? I think people from 1 to 92. I think age one's a bit hard, but I think there are ways. I think there are ways that we all subconsciously do it, even at that young age. I think it's just a matter as we get older, we need to become more conscious of how our lives, our environment is a good term, affects that equation, that balance, and how we need to adapt it to make sure that we can still be happy with life. Because I think happiness is the first thing. Thomas Jefferson once said, the three core foundations of America are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, for my people living in America, remember the pursuit of happiness is the greatest foundation of that. It's always listed third, but it is the longest of the three for a very good reason, and that is because happiness is the centerpiece to life. So, as you get older, become more conscious of that. Become conscious of your environment and become conscious that you aren't getting sucked into any one of the three too much.
I definitely agree with that. We covered a lot here, haven't we?
I
That's a
know.
big thing, man. It's a big thing, and it's never. That's something that's always going to be around. Work ethic is always going to be around. So I mean,
It's gonna follow you. Your
I'm just glad we've been given this platform that we can speak on this,
Yeah,
and hopefully it'll positively impact somebody somewhere. If you're hearing this, you can. If I can do it, you can do it too. Simple as that.
and whether you're in high school, college, whatever, or even in life at this point, I think all these lessons can be very valuable, right? And I think
Absolutely.
I think just touching upon it, I think we just kind of recap just with the last minute or so, just a couple of good things that we kind of touched in here today, so people that do make it to the end kind of can take these with them and hold it in their tool belt. Remember, work ethic is not just about doing work. It is about balancing current work, fun, and lifelong learning And I think my second big takeaway from this before we head back to Logan so he can give us his and close it off is remember, it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to constantly be there to perfect it. You'll constantly perfect work ethic throughout your life, and you're going to adapt it to your current environment, and that's going to change the equation a little bit. But you have to remember that all three components must be present in some or equal capacity. Logan, I mean, what do
Well
you?
said, Ian.
Yeah,
Well said.
what do you have? You said a lot of great things today. So, what were your two big takeaways and key learning points?
I would say number one, like Journey always said, don't stop believing. I'd say, don't stop living, don't stop learning, don't stop loving. You got to enjoy life. You got to do what makes you happy, but hopefully, what makes you happy, you can do well then too. That's something big then too. But
Yes.
honestly, honestly, we talk about work ethic, but a big thing there, you do this work now, you go enjoy life, man. You make it what you want. If you put the work in now, it's going to carry over, and you'll be able to do a lot more than most people, which again, I think that's a blessing right there, because that hard work does pay off. Again, we're still in college. We're not out in the real world yet. We're still here. We're still grinding. But from prior experience and present experience, I can tell you unequivocally, hard work does pay off. I promise you. That's what it is. You put the work in, you get the most out. There you go.
Yeah. Well, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in again. I've been Ian.
I'm Logan, and as always, tell us how you feel and keep it real.